How podcasts are distributed. Recording a podcast is relatively simple. A microphone, some editing software, a few hours of work. But once the episode is finished, something remarkable happens. That single audio file suddenly appears in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and dozens of other podcast apps around the world. Millions of people can potentially listen to it within minutes, which means there is an entire distribution system quietly working behind the scenes every time a podcast creator presses publish. So today, we're going to explore how podcasts are distributed. Everything begins with the podcast creator. After recording and editing an episode, the final audio file is uploaded to a podcast hosting platform. This hosting platform stores the audio and becomes the official source for the show. Think of it as the master library for every episode. But podcast apps do not constantly search the internet looking for new audio files. Instead, they rely on something called an RSS feed. RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication. Despite sounding technical, the concept is straightforward. An RSS feed is essentially a constantly updated list containing information about the podcast. Episode titles, descriptions, artwork, publication dates, and links to the audio files. Whenever a creator publishes a new episode, the RSS feed updates automatically. Podcast directories monitor these feeds. Platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts regularly check for updates. When they detect a new episode, they add it to their catalogs. This allows listeners to see the latest content without creators uploading files separately to dozens of different services, which is fortunate because manually uploading every episode everywhere would become a full-time job very quickly. Most podcast apps do not actually store the audio themselves. Instead, they act as directories. When a listener presses play, the app retrieves the audio directly from the hosting provider. The episode begins streaming immediately. Content delivery networks often help with this process. These systems place copies of audio closer to listeners geographically. A listener in London may receive the podcast from a nearby server rather than one located across the ocean. This improves performance and reduces delays. Many podcast apps also support downloads. Episodes can be stored locally on a phone or tablet. This allows offline listening during flights, train journeys, or areas with poor internet connections. Advertising often plays a role in podcast distribution. Some ads are permanently recorded into episodes. Others use dynamic ad insertion. This technology allows different advertisements to be inserted depending on the listener's location or the date of playback, which means two people listening to the same episode may hear completely different advertisements. Podcast hosting platforms also provide analytics. Creators can track downloads, listener locations, devices, and audience growth. This information helps creators understand how their shows are performing. One reason podcasting became so successful is its openness. Unlike many media platforms, podcasting relies heavily on open standards. Creators maintain control over their content while still reaching audiences through many different applications. Today, millions of podcast episodes are distributed worldwide using hosting platforms, RSS feeds, directories, and streaming infrastructure. Most listeners never think about these systems. They simply open an app and press play. This has been a mini Leviathan production. If you enjoyed it, check out our other videos. See you in the next one.